Guys, welcome back. We're looking at Solana. So you can see once again how our levels have come into play. We've already talked about the resistance at this level around 89 to 105, because previously we knew that this was an accumulation zone. And so once again, this has been covered in my videos. We talked about the buy-in when we get closer. One thing that I was incorrect on was obviously I talked about that I personally thought we were going to touch 65.54. The lowest we went was 67.48, and so it's why I always say don't use it as a strict level, but you have to plus or take, give or take some sort of value from it. But nevertheless, it was close to the area, and so this was something that we've been eyeing up anyway. And what we did say was that there was going to be resistance coming in at this 89 level. We talked about how it's going to likely go to here like this. And now what we're looking at is, of course, whether or not, and once again, you got to look at Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin right now is at 71K. However, this 71K is still a shaky area because ultimately we're not seeing that full reversal. We could still see at any point where the buyers fail to take control and then they start selling and the price fall. If that is the case, what we're looking at is the rejection, which we're already seeing the resistance happening. We've yet to see the rejection, but we're seeing the resistance happening at 89. What that means is that what we could be then looking at is then the price to fall back to the 65.54, where this time it will actually tap it. And what we're going to be seeing is this potential form of a bearish structure, obviously formed all the way from here, where we see this lower low into a lower high, into a new lower low at the Fibonacci level, and perhaps even a bit lower, and to try and form kind of the bearish structure for Solana. If that is the case, what we're going to be looking at is, so the lower low into the lower high into a new lower low, but then the new lower high will be around this Fibonacci area here. That's if we see a rejection, not only on the resistance of this 89 level support, but also if we continue to see Bitcoin free falling. If Bitcoin is stagnant, if Bitcoin is kind of just staying and consolidating around the 71 to potentially 65,000 level, then what we can still see is Solana rejecting this 89, but it would just be a tap on the 65.54 or get close towards the 67.48 that was created, and before it kind of just kind of consolidating around this area before it bounces back up. It will be very different from the scenario we talked about, where it creates a new lower low into a new lower high like this and then continues to free fall. It would just be rejecting off the 89, going towards the 65.54, but not really breaking through below it. And that's what you obviously have to look out for. Right now, we are in a very good position in the fact that if you got in at this current level, you would have done very, very well. You would be up very nicely right now. And if you are worried about your position, if you're worried about where you should be looking to obviously trim your positions out, is that currently we're not seeing massive sellers coming in for this 89 level. Yes, we're in the weekend, so the volume is a bit slow as per usual in comparison to the weekdays. So you could still obviously wait this out. One thing to note is that even when we go into this consolidation zone of 89, 105, bear in mind that this 94 and the $100 level area has obviously shown resistance in the past before. 100 being a very psychological level, so you got to watch out for that. 94 being the 17% on the Fibonacci. Just like how it didn't touch exactly 65.54, make sure you use it that it's given close to the area, so don't use it on 94.39 exactly. But if you look at if we zoom in on the chart here and just look at what happened for these three candles, we saw the resistance happening at this area. And so this was close to 94.39, but it wasn't exactly it. And so that's what I mean by don't kind of use this exact area, but know that it's near this area. That's what you got to look out for. That's pretty much the analysis for this video. Once again, what we talked about in the past has just come true, and so you just got to understand the overall movement. As always, none of this is ever financial advice, and I'll catch you guys next time.